Hello, my wonderful students. Today we will be taking a look at reflection maps or specular or gloss. This uses a gloss model, but they're all doing the same map, and that's the spec. Uh, so we're going to take a look at the spec map, and then we're going to do some final tweaking to the model, to the skin. And I'll show you kind of how I try to get to what good looks like. Whether or not I hit it is your decision. Okay, so let's get started. And by the way, watch me on a little faster, maybe like 1.5 times or 2 times. It's actually a lot more watchable. Anyway, here we go. All right, so for some reason I'm being dogmatic to my lighting. I'm not too sure why. I'm going to come to this dome shape here, and I'm actually going to up this so people actually know why I upped it and why I didn't. So I'm going to isolate this guy. So here's my dome shape to start with, right? And then this is kind of like right now we're getting into the spec, right? So what I want to do is definitely have a dome kicking around, and I think I'm using Bonifacto Street. Yeah, Bonifacto Street. There's better ones to use. Tamako is a really good studio to use when you're sort of dialing stuff in, um, because it's a very neutral map. And you can get Tamako off of Substance if you have Substance. Just about everyone has Substance. So where is Tamako? Pardon me if I'm not saying it right. Tamako Studio here. So I'm gonna grab that. All right, let's see what you're doing. You're doing some interesting things. And I'm gonna come into, where's my hunt for the light here. And I'm gonna turn this around. Now I can use it to give me the basic same kind of lighting setup that I just had. The one thing I do definitely want though is I do want that rim light coming through. I want a dark side and I also want that rim light coming in. All right, so here, if I find that this light is too strong, right, I still want this gloss to be strong. So this is where I can come down with this diffuse, and I can bring down the lighting here, like in the scattering. Are you coming down? Do I have another light on here? What's going on? Do. Let me up. Sorry. Wrong light. Oh wait, I have two dome lights. No. Why do I have two dome lights? Okay. There we go. I had the wrong friggin' light selected. I'm like, why the hell is that not working? Okay, let's come back into it. Now I'm gonna just bring down the diffuse, and if I bring this down, there we go. So I can make that dark, right? But I'm gonna bring this down a bit because I find it a little too bright. But I'm not gonna touch that gloss because I want the reflection from that gloss. All right, so here I have it's kind of flat. That's what I don't like about it. It's kind of flat. So I'm going to bring this down again, and I'm gonna let it act like more of a fill light, and I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna add a key light. So let's bring this over here. I'm gonna bring this in for a fill, and of course I can turn it off too. I don't have to be locked into anything. And I'm just gonna add a key light. Most people know how to do their own key, so just key it up, yeah. So I'm just gonna isolate. That's of course if I know which friggin' key is a key. There's my key. I'm not too sure what you are. right? And now I can come in with a little bit more of a light, a little more strength on that. All right, so some basic lighting, and let's just quickly take a look to make sure we're not overexposing. I'll look at the pixel value here, and we're perfectly fine. 0.6, 0.5, yeah, we're cool, we're cool. All right. I can even go brighter on that. I go a little bit brighter. Okay, so let's start playing with the spec. So I'm gonna click on this, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to the spec, and let's just turn it on. So specular is like music. The roughness, we're all familiar with the roughness, right? So, well, in this term, glossiness, right? So glossiness is, the genre of music, right? It's how rough the surface is, sure, but it's like a genre of music. What weight is weight's the volume, right? There's nothing more boring than listening to all your music at the same friggin' volume, right? Or listening to someone who doesn't fluctuate their voice or go quiet or loud or whatever, monotone. You know what I mean? So this weight, this sort of gives, this is another place for breakup, right? And we're just turning the volume down. Otherwise, all your highlights, they're at the same strength, right? And it's kind of boring. So here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have this weight up high for a sec, and I'm gonna come in with this gloss. And actually, what I want is I want a tight gloss, and I want this gloss to be sort of representative of oil on the skin, right? These oil areas, like my nose, my cheeks, my forehead, my chin here. So here, I'm gonna bring this up or down a bit. I'm gonna bring this up a bit. Now I'm gonna bring down this weight. You see what that does, right? Now I get that oil, but it doesn't look like he's like totally sweaty or anything like that. My key feels like it's a little too much. I'm gonna bring my key down a bit. There we go. I like that other HDR I add in here. All right, so I have something like that. Now, what I did is I do have a map, my gloss map, right? But originally it was a roughness map. So I'm going to take this and my reflective gloss, and I'm just going to put it into glossiness. And I'm going to take the samples. I'm going to put this to 512. Now, let's just take this reflect gloss. And the reason why I did that is because I'm lazy. All right, so normally this is what the map looks like, right? We're black to white, right? But the let's take a little look at my map here. So is this my gloss map? I guess it is my gloss map. So here, what I wanted, where this is the oil areas are darker, right? So and then in here where the tear duct is, it's going to be a little runnier. And then I thought this silicone was probably a little bit slicker too. So I can kind of bring this up. But what I want to do is I want to switch these because this is a roughness map, right? I need to make this white, and then I need to make this black, right? So now the areas are a lot more slick. So let's just come back into here, and let's see how that's working. And sometimes I find it easy to come into the weights and black out all your weights, right? Or we can go to the AOV and We can go to specular lighting because we're not reflecting any objects. So I'm going to go to specular lighting and add that AOV. And then I'm going to come to specular lighting here. And then this gives me a greater sense of how tight things are, right? So, and what the contrast is. So let me click back on you. And I'm just going to isolate. So here, if I start bringing this down, I'm going to increase that contrast. And I'm roughing it out. And I don't know if I necessarily want to do that. But again, I kind of want to make this my more slick layer. I want it oily. So I'm going to bring this up a little more. Now let me take a look at my beauty. What's that doing? Right? Is that flattening out the nose? So if I bring this in, that's going to make it more white, right? More slick too, give it a little more contrast. So I'm going to dial this back a bit. All right, so the lighting is a little flat in here. So I'm just going to select the light panel perspective. I'm going to look through selected. I'm going to come down a bit. All right, so I got some highlight there. And I'm going to come in and probably, oh, sorry, right here. Okay, I'm actually pretty low. Let's turn this up for a sec. Okay. Sometimes I like to see it a little bit more like this so I get an idea of what my spots are doing. Let me isolate it again. So I'm going to put a little more contrast in this. Something like that. Okay, I don't want to be watching me faff around this forever here, so let's come in here, and there we go. So I got some tight spec going on here. Right, and now I'm just gonna, actually I do have a specular level, right? So where is that guy? And my specular level, let's just bring in a new ramp. So specular level is my blue channel. So we're just going to connect this, and we're going to call it our spec level. And I'm going to drop it in here. There we go. I was wondering what was going on there. All right, so now I'm going to take a look at this. And my spec level, again, it's like where it's white, I'm going to have more spec. And where it's dark, I'm going to have less spec. So I'm going to bring this down. And then also, I have these cavities, right, where I can reduce the amount of spec or increase the amount of spec where I want it, right? So where there's going to be oil buildup is tend to where I'm going to put my spec. There we go. I got some contrast on there. So now we can take a look, see what happened. And why don't we just take a look at our specular lighting. So now let's actually see what that did. So again, like texturing is all about the breakup, and what I'm trying to do is just get some breakup in here. Oops, let's come back to here. I'm just gonna isolate you. So if I shoot this up to white, it's going to be all sort of value, right? So you can see our sort of tight spec here. So you can kind of really see what effect this is having. Eh? So I bring this down, just giving me more detail. I'm getting more detail out of my bumps and stuff. Because I have that reflected in the spec. All right, so there's my spec level. And again, it's something I play with, but this is getting pretty long. All right, now there's two specs. There is actually, I kind of feel like I want that a little more juicy because I'm kind of missing out on that spec there. I can see the spec in here. I'm kind of feeling I don't really feel it on that nose though. So I am going to bring this value up. And it actually might come to this gloss here where I need to bring that value up all as well. Make this more glossy. Just to get more read on my spec here. There we go. Okay, so yeah, I want that nose to feel like it's got something going on. Maybe it's also bringing this contrast over here more. Okay, so there we go. So I got some spec up there. Now I can just bring this level back down again. And I'm gonna bring you back down. And this is about like 0.5, 0.4 right here, right? So now I'm getting some value here. Okay, so the big thing about spec too is Skin has two levels of spec. You got the oil, but then you have a very broad spec. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the color and I'm gonna turn it to black. And the reason why I'm turning it to black is so I don't see it. And I'm gonna work on this next spec. So now this is your broad spec. So I'm gonna bring it up. Or actually the way they had it set up is reversed, but that's okay. Just because this is shinier. They're sitting at a 0.7 value, right? So what I want to do, and we're going to see it here, is I'm going to bring this down. That glossiness down. And what that's going to do is it's going to give me a broader highlight, and it's going to be less tight. And oh, my rim light on? Where's my rim? Why is my rim at a weird angle? Again, I'm using a different light right now, so what are you doing? Come on. This is kind of weird. My lighting totally went south. I don't know why my lighting went south. Let me just do a quick lighting. All right, that was my bad. My bad. It still had the light on. I still had that light on. All right. I was still looking through the light. So let's go back into perspective view here. What are we in? We're in perspective 1. I'm gonna go to perspective then. All right. So I want this light right here. So usually what I want is I want this light to crawl along the face here. Let me get him looking more straight at the camera. Oh, there we go. Come on. Perspective 1. All right. Let's move you to the middle. Zoom you in. Oof, we're at 116. This is a long one. This is a long one. All right, so I want this light to crawl along that face there. So let's come back into the skin here, and so if I have a tight spec, yeah, you see how that highlight sort of just peels across. We don't want a tight. We want a nice little broad speck coming in through here, and it's gonna catch the light when it's like behind them and stuff like that. So let's take a look at our specular lighting. This is what's going on with our specular lighting. So it's a nice broad spec. I can bring this volume down a bit, because again, it's going to add. The two specs are going to add on each other as well. So I'm just going to bring this down, and I'm landing around 0.3, which 0.7, so kind of makes sense. So I'm just making that nice broad highlight, and now I'm just going to turn you back up. And then I can use the spec level in here also and just sort of adjust it, kind of flatten it out this time, and pretend that I'm not caring about the grease. So if we come into the beauty here, so now we're getting a little more. I'm not happy with my lighting right now, probably because I switched off. So this is where I'd come in and adjust the lighting. But here is pretty much where we were gonna end it, because we can go on really long. So I think the big things here are, I could use a little more warmth in this. So I can come to this sort of black, and I'm gonna bring this up a bit. And I can come up here, and I'm gonna look at it's gonna give me a little more red. And come to think of it, I think if we come to this deep color here, another thing I can do is I can just add more saturation to get a little bit more warmth coming into this character. Here, I'm just gonna do some quick lighting fixes. It's really bugging me. All right, quick light adjust, and so there's some things I don't like. I don't like the nose spec. I'd like to see more flatness on it. So I'm gonna come into this gloss here, and I'm gonna bring it up. And then I'm actually going to come back to this, and I'm going to go to the spec level. And that spec level, basically what I'm doing is I'm just reducing the contrast between these two. So I'm going to up this contrast a bit, because again, the oil should be filling the pores anyway. So I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to bring you up. Though I am bringing you up pretty strong. You see it's really taking hold here, and it's getting a little too much there. Just bring this down a bit. Bring that down a bit. I'm going to go back to this gloss here. I'm going to take you, you're at white, so I'm going to bring you down. That's too tight. Too tight, too tight. All right. Let's take a look at that map. So I'm going to push that white in more. Let's come back to this, see what happened. Spec level. Take a look at that. Actually, you can be up higher. You can be up higher. Probably a little too much contrast in that though. I really brought up the contrast there. Let's come down on that. See what happened. Get a little more broad. And you get a little too much there, Captain. Bring that level down. Bring you down. Actually, I don't want to bring it a little far down. Boo, 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 boo. All right, well, now you just see me faff around with stuff here. So I'm going to take it on this, take it off that. All right, the final thing is I find that he's just a little too, I'd like to see him soften up a bit. I think I've put him a little too, so I'm gonna bring him up to 7.5 here. That kind of actually felt like it did a lot. Let's see. 0.5. Let's just toggle. Ha! Subtle, isn't it? Subtle. So I don't want to lose. I don't want to lose. I don't want to lose this in here. I don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose my detail. All right. So I got to be careful. But I softened it up. So let's go. Let's go to 8.5. Just do a quick render. Okay, so that's softening it up in there. There we go. And my normal map, I don't know, I don't think my normal map shouldn't have pores on it. But let's just dial this back. Actually, it looks like it might have pores on it. Let's just do a quick stamp and yeah, okay, there we go, there we go. Let's dialing it back a little bit. How much did I lose? All right, I'm letting my, I was at point, so I'm gonna go to a 0.15 on that normal map. That normal is, I think that normal is sharing what my height's doing, so. And my displacement, so that's just giving me a little more crisp, a little bit more crispiness. There we go. Okay, and then finally, I just do not have that gloss where I want to have it. I think you're probably up a little too high. So your gloss is up too high. You're gonna your highlights become too tight. There we go. That's what I needed to do. All right. I just got to remember that's reversed. There we go. So something like that should be pretty good. All right. Anyway, there you go. So that is my incredibly long video on how to do the subsurface shader. I think it's working out pretty good. Let's see where I started. You know, I'm still gonna faff around with it. Still do quite a bit. So this is where we started. Here, let's just render the same resolution. Let me just pause. All right, I just brought up a little quick comparison of the two. Yeah, I'm pretty much where I was before, except I got a little more, that got a little darker, which is fine. I really don't know what that's supposed to be like. And I think I got a little more purple in here, a little less red up here. Which, you know, are still coming in. Our spec is about the same. We've got that nice broad line coming in here. Got that nice red ear coming in here too. You know, if I bless that light up, everything should, you know, not everything, but it should come up pretty good. There's another little test we can do here. So I could just test different. One of my students rigged this head, so we can just try different poses. He's got no tongue. See how it feels. Oof. Come around here. Can you smell what he's cooking? All right, there we go. I think we're good. Faffing around with this thing too long. All right, so basically that's it though. I mean, it takes a while to do, right? So I like that. I like how that light comes in and hits that surface here. I think that looks pretty spiff. Thank you very much for watching my video. If you made it this long, no one made it this long. That's cool. I'll try to like do little bookmarks in it and stuff like that. Maybe that will help. All right, thank you very much.